Nolan, it will shock you that I washed my hair today with 4 mugs of water. This is the size of my mug. It's not a...
That's it?
That 4 mugs of this. Before you start your bath, a whole lot of people have already wet their body just for the sheer joy of water flowing over your body. I don't do that. Money can't buy water. And just because I live in a bigger house from somebody who lives in a small dwelling or a hut, does not mean I can use that much more than they can. The first maybe couple of years of my marriage, I happened to once walk into the bathroom when the tap was on full flow and water was just gushing down. And I came and asked my husband, what are you doing?
I'm guilty of wasting a lot of water. I hope I can stop doing that.
Why wait to go to Mysore? Because it's urgent.
My today's guest is an environment and sustainability change maker. Someone who has been a water warrior or basically has been saving water since 2009. Now, I first met her when I was covering the infamous Bangalore and Waternomics lake. And she's one person, you can clearly say, who practices what she preaches. Odette Katrak, thank you so much for being here and speaking to me.
Nolan, my privilege, especially to speak on something as close to my heart as water, because literally every drop counts.
Before we begin, I know there are so many things I really want to ask you, especially the Ecowaternomics, then the 3 mugs. I'm still very intrigued about that, how you actually have a bath with 3 mugs. But I have noticed this. I have met so many water warriors, people who are really want to do something with water, from covering the Bangalore and Waternomics lake. The issues over there, it's just happening. I met, and most of my stories that came about with you all was also from the Bangalore and the Waternomics lake. It's just very interesting. I just wanted to point that out.
That's actually quite remarkable. And when we get into our chat later, I'll tell you how, in one sense, Bangalore was an added turning point for me in this whole passion to not just for myself save water, but get others to want to save water too.
No, it's very interesting because I still have saved your number with Bangalore and with your name. I know you've changed now to a new location, but Bangalore is still over there. But all right, let's begin today. 2009 is when you actually started this, if I'm right, the turning point. How did this happen?
Yeah. So like every other person, I lived my life without even thinking about where our resources come from, how much we use, all of that. In 2009, and before that, I grew up in Chennai, I lived in Delhi. Who doesn't love to keep pouring water over themselves while you bathe? I love to sing in the bathroom. And I'm ashamed to confess, I used to use at least 3 buckets of water. That would be, say, 50 liter. So that's probably... No, I think a bucket was 25 liters. So that's probably 75 liters a day. At a minimum, I would happily keep singing. And 2009, I had just moved to Gurgaon, and I came across this chilling PowerPoint presentation. Anyone can just find it by Googling letter in the year 2070. I really hope every viewer will listen to this. It's a chilling PowerPoint describing a world without water. And this is a 50-year-old father, the oldest man alive is a 50-year-old, talking to his son, a younger chap, telling him how the world didn't listen, that water was running out, and now there is nothing that can be done. There is not enough water. Each one just gets 1 glass of water a day to drink. We cannot bathe, so they have to rub oil on their bodies, shave their heads, and no long hair and all of that, no bathing. And that is what shook me out of my complacency with the way I used water before. And that was a turning point, and I have shared that video with many people, including a 9-year-old child that year, whom I initially wondered, is it too scary? My daughter and her friend, who got back to me saying, Auntie, forever I have changed my habits of wasting water after seeing that.
You shared this in 2009
I shared
with a 9-year-old.
With a 9-year-old, with some amount of trepidation that, would it be too scary? I showed it to my daughter first and asked her, do you think it's okay if I shared it with a friend? And she said no. And I'm so glad I did.
She said no.
She said no, it
but
would be too scary.
What was her reaction?
anyone who sees that will say, oh my gosh, if water runs out, is this what is going to happen to us? It talks about wars because of water. So anyone who sees it cannot be unmoved and say, I will keep wasting water. I hope, at least, I mean, there's still people who don't care and say, I'm paying my taxes and I don't care, I will get a tanker. My point is, where money can't buy water when all the water is gone, so you can't continue to buy tankers. And I think that's what happened a few months ago, right? When even the tanker mafia, it was Bangalore side, where people were struggling without water. So those days, if you recall, in 2018-19, they had predicted 20 cities in the world will run out of water. Which was number one or number two on that list? Bangalore.
Dr. T.V. Ramchandra, I've spoken to him and he's been talking about this for almost more than a decade.
Yes.
And he said that Bengaluru will run out of water by 2020.
Yes.
And it happened.
Yes.
Recently, when I spoke to him, I said, fine, 2020, but when will the city go without any water? When will it be a situation where we have no water? He actually talks about some from the 2030s onwards, we'll
Yes.
have problems.
Yes. Can I add one more point there? When you're talking about the city, Bangalore, I think to our disadvantage is our weather. The fact that it's not, burning hot or half the year or most of the year dulls people into not realizing that there is a water shortage. You go to Delhi, you go to Rajasthan, when you're traveling, you see cracked, parched earth. The instinct to use water carefully comes more naturally. You look all around you, there's lovely greenery, foliage, all your corporate campuses have nice lush landscaping. So we are lulled into a false sense of complacency that there's no real water shortage.
So whose responsibility is it?
Okay, now that's a tricky one. To manage water resources of a state, definitely I believe a government is the biggest stakeholder, because they are supposed to look at all water resources in terms of rivers, connectivity, all of those. The percolation of rainwater. I think cities which have abundant rain through the year, like Bangalore, if that rainwater is not getting soaked up and recharging our water table, I won't get into this angle because I know you'll be talking about experts on that part of it, but that all of that is the government's mandate. My concern is the whole, I would say 80 to 90% of residents of any city believe that it is the government's job to provide water. I pay taxes, government should give me water. So it doesn't really matter to them how much they consume. If they consume more, they believe they are paying their water bill, so it doesn't matter. But the fact that water is a resource that is a shared resource, there has to be a water commons policy. Doesn't mean if I can afford more, though if those who can afford, yeah.
No, it's interesting you're mentioning this, that water should be common, because I bring this issue up with so many people. If you have the money, you can dig a borewell.
Yes.
You don't have the money, you're living in an old house, you have a well.
Yeah.
But if your neighbors dug a borewell,
Yes.
you don't have water. But that water belongs to the person who does not have money and the person who has money.
Yes.
But another aspect I wanted to ask you, you said that we are concretizing
Yes.
the city.
Yes.
But doesn't it also, this responsibility also fall on the people? Because
Yes.
while the government is concretizing our roads, footpaths, we are doing the same thing. Our
Yes.
homes earlier had empty space. We had coconut trees. I mean, I'm from Bangalore and homes in Mysore, we had coconut trees. I don't see coconut trees anymore.
Yeah.
I would sit on my terrace and while studying, I would see coconut trees all around. One by one, there are no trees. So, isn't that ours? We are also concretizing.
Yes.
We're cutting trees and
Yes.
cement.
Yes. So it's funny you talk of coconut trees. Within 10 minutes walk of my home, 5 minutes this side, 5 minutes this side, I have witnessed 5 coconut trees being cut lately, just for no reason. I tried to stop it, I couldn't. And the point of two of the trees had to be cut because they were cemented right up to the trunk, which means water cannot percolate. So I don't think a lot of people get the link between greenery, water, and the humidity in the air, the water percolation, the ability of the soil to fix an old water. but then I would be going into a different, what should I say, focus of this water issue from what is my focus, which is the individual responsibility and what we can do in our homes or our circle of influence to save water.
Let's get into the most intriguing aspect of this. How do you manage to have a bath with just 3 mugs of water? I mean, I'm just thinking about it. Like you mentioned initially, 3 buckets. I don't know. I'm talking about water, but I'll be wasting even more than what you would have mentioned. With 3 mugs, how?
So, in any operation, let's say hand washing, vessel washing, body washing, whatever. I think a lot of people get the number of iterations in that operation wrong. Most people, they want to wash their hand, they'll open the tap, put their hands under the tap, and for maybe 20 seconds. During that time, how much water is already gone? You don't need to do that. You just need to dampen it enough for the soap to start lathering, and for that 10 ml is enough. Try it. Okay. Second thing is, if you have that 10 ml and you start soaping your hands, so many people will have the tap open while they're washing their hands, water going down the drain. Okay, it breaks my heart when water goes down the drain. An adage I follow, which I read a long, long time ago, maybe in the 80s or 90s, I read it, which stuck in my head. Not that I used it or I followed it then, but I follow it to the letter today, even beyond the letter. Never let water go down a drain if it's good for something else. So it's not good for washing, for drinking or something else, but you collect it and use it for something else. So anyway, when people are washing and soaping, water goes. So next time you wash your hands, I'll first start with hands and then I'll move to the
Sure.
analogy of having a bath. The next time you're washing your hands, just dampen it a splash, put your soap, tap is off, you do your soaping. The rinsing part is where you actually need the water, and you don't need a full blast like most people do. Even a trickle works. A trickle works where the water's slowly go. And what I do is I let water from one hand flow onto the other. So while the first hand is getting clean, the second hand is also getting clean. And one step even better, I have a mug below to catch this water. Why would I catch soapy water from my hands? Because I can reuse it to wash my basin, wash my comb, wash my shoes, wash a whole lot of other things. We'll come to that when I tell you about my framework, Ecowaternomics.
You've been doing this for how many years?
I definitely say it since 2015, 16. When I heard about the water shortage, I came to Bangalore back in 2015.
Yeah.
And the whole thing about water, and that's when I started my volunteer group. We were then called Beautiful Bengaluru. We are now called Beautiful Bharat, with works to inspire the person who's not concerned about the environment. How can we give them a hook to say, hey, this is something simple, even I can do this. So our whole campaigns are about saving the planet's resources, using less of it, sending out less waste, and water is one of the biggest resources we consume. So I think since then, and I have been evolving simple ways and tricks and campaigns, and it makes its sweetest music to my ear to hear from people, hey Odette, the same people who ridicule and laugh and say impossible. And I must tell you, humor plays a big part in this change intervention. The Times of India in June 2019 on World Environment Day had a big splash with my photograph saying she bathes with 3 mugs of water. And you can imagine the butt of jokes I have been since then. Somebody said, oh, no wonder whenever I type Odette, it gets converted by autocorrect into odor. I love the jokes because it allows people to talk about a serious issue in a funny way. And my neighbors at the time in Bangalore, they all said, okay, when we see you next time, we'll close our nose. I said, I'm so happy if this article has made you wonder if I'm using too little, because I know it's going to make you realize that you're using too much. And people who said impossible, 3 mugs, what are you talking about? So I have the advantage of being short. I don't have very long hair. I'm rather small made. I have a 6-foot person, okay, to his advantage, he doesn't have a lot of hair, who after saying impossible, I counted, I can only manage with 15 mugs, 2 months later messaged me saying, hey, today I did it in 3 months. Thank you for making me think that this is possible. And then he went on to say, Muthu, this is for you if you're listening. He went on to say, actually, I can do it in 2. The third mug is pure luxury.
Wow.
I haven't told you how though.
I'm waiting for that.
Okay. So, as I said, same with washing hands. A lot of people, a friend of mine who read that said, I take 3 mugs to splash on my face before I wash my face. So, but that is a habit because water was abundant. And where did I get this to start with? I grew up in Chennai where we had summer water shortages. I grew up in a big family. So either you could have a bath every day with 1 mug of water, or you had to wait your turn to have a better bath after 3-4 days. Obviously, I chose the 1 mug water, and it worked fine. Maybe my hygiene standards then and now were vastly different. Oh, I forgot to clarify. The article was a bit cruel to me because it did not mention a phrase which I always add: without any compromise on end result. You can do the same thing with less water without compromise on end result. So anyone sitting, you're fairly close to me. I'm very sure you won't get any smell.
Absolutely nothing.
I never
No.
smell. Okay. So first thing is, before you start your bath, a whole lot of people have already wet their body just for the sheer joy of water flowing over your body. I don't do that. I do the splash and I wash my face, and like you do with heavy, there are 2 kinds of cleaning. No? Whether you're cleaning a table, when you do the spot cleaning and all. I first do my overall cleaning. Then I do the high area, like behind your ears, the smelly areas, which underarms and all of that. I use a lot of soap. I'm finished. So in my first mug, I have finished soaping my body. I have finished soaping my all the areas which need extra attention. And by the time I'm pouring my second mug, and the water flows from top to bottom, most of the dirt is gone.
But sometimes you can't get rid of all that soap. There are...
Thank you for reminding me. So a lot of people put far too much soap, more than is needed. So obviously more soap you use, you need more water. There is an optimum level of soap that you need. If you put too little soap, you probably will not clean enough. But if you want optimum, no compromise in end result, you'll figure out that the right. So actually speaking, when I was talking about this and this whole thing of washing hands, a friend said, you know what, I always put a second thing of soap and wash twice because I want my hands to be clean. So often in our thing of extra hygiene, COVID time was different. Incidentally, during COVID too, I took out a short reel showing if your tap is on while we were all busy washing our hands, and we were told 20 seconds.
Yes.
Now. So 20 seconds if the tap was running, how much of water everyone would have wasted. Our city would have wasted, I don't know how many million tons of water. So,
but people were scared then. There was no option. They were absolutely petrified.
No. So I'm not saying don't wash your hand. I'm saying when you were washing your hand, make sure your tap flow was off. So that will come to the next part. So what I'm saying is, when you're finally rinsing, and see, there are normal days. There are days you might have gone jogging, or you may be extra sweaty, or you might have done gardening, your hands are extra muddy. So I'm not talking about those exception days which is extra hot. But for normal days, each one of us, and everyone doesn't need to come to 3 months. But this is a symbolic, apocryphal term to say, however much you're using today, try to look at how much you can cut back, and you'll be quite surprised. A lot of people keep telling me today on Instagram, I should send you a screenshot. Somebody got a message saying, hey, you inspired me and I'm doing a 3 mug bath now. So across the country, I know of people who say that, and they try it and say, hey, I don't smell. So please try it if you don't.
Odette, but my question is, must we go to such extremes?
All right. So every time I do a talk, a session, whether it's in a school, a college, or corporate, I'm always asked this question. I mean,
Okay.
almost a bit of a cynical of she's a loony. I mean, who would go to this extreme? Okay. One person once actually told me that everyone doesn't love the planet as much as you do. But my point is, sorry, we were talking about...
the extremes.
Yes. So someone asked me That don't you think this is a bit too extreme to do on a day-to-day basis? So I had just shown them that letter in the year 2017. So I told them I wouldn't even have thought of doing something like this earlier. After seeing that video, and I urge everyone, please see it. To imagine that such a scenario can be possible, I may not be alive, my children, my grandchildren would have that. Do we not owe it to the next generation? So you might have heard of this quote saying, it's from Wendell Berry. There are a lot of people who, it's unclear who the actual quote is from, but I think it's Wendell Berry who said, we do not inherit the planet from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. So it is our generation's responsibility to be able to make sure that there are enough of the planet's resources for the future generations. That's what sustainability is all about. And my answer to this question is, isn't it a bit too extreme? Is that if we all don't do more of this more often today, our generations to come will be forced to do it all the time with maybe a tenth of what we have in terms of water or other resources. And that's how serious it is. So, few months back, you remember how there was no water in Bangalore.
2024, there was, 2024 summer.
That proved that money can't buy water, because even those who had money, and unfortunately, it often happens that if I have money and I can keep paying more and I keep wasting more, who are the people who actually suffer? It's the lowest income people, where they'll get water once in 3 days. So that to me is unjust, because water, everyone has a right to the planet's resources, and water being one of them. And just because I live in a bigger house from somebody who lives in a small dwelling or a hut, does not mean I can use that much more than they can. Nolan, have you seen this Unilever ad of a couple of years, maybe it's a few years ago now? It's I'll send you the link. It is set in a village in Haryana, in the midst of the desert, and they have put a shower, a glass shower. In the Haryanvi accent, the lady says, एक दिन हमारा गांव में किसी ने ये shower लगा दिया, and they go on to say, they don't know what a shower is, right? And the first villager with his turban in the heat, he goes, he looks, and he starts drinking the water very reverently, and they all line up and they all go and drink the water. And it's so powerful to say that what a whole village took to drink is what one city dweller might use in their shower. Very, very powerful. Likewise, there's a Colgate Marriott one, which talks of the water. They have put these in hotels. I think Marriott hotels, they've done a campaign. And the center of where the water flows into the sink is a bowl. The picture of the child with the bowl. And here, when you're wasting water, it's showing the child holding out his bowl. And the tagline said, the water you waste in 2 minutes is what his whole family gets in 1 day. So those kind of powerful things are what I like to put out to people, because as somebody said, everyone is not as, in that extreme of saying, hey, we must save water. But it's so heartening in the talks I do with schools, campuses, colleges, that people are so open to the idea of what can we do differently.
But these messages that are put out, do you really think that it will bring about a change amongst the people? Because why I'm asking you this is simple. I bring out the traffic example always. You have don't drink and drive. You have these very interesting boards that the police have put out. But that does not stop people. So similarly over here, everyone knows that we are inching, not inching, I think we are like speed racer. We are moving in that way towards a time when we won't have water.
Yeah.
All these messages are out. Experts like you, influencers are talking about it. But I don't see people changing.
Yeah.
No one wants to change.
So I'll tell you, my first response is, you had said everyone knows water is under threat. I'm not sure that's even true. So take, for example, I had a new mail.
No, like in 2024, everyone suffered in Bangalore.
Yes. No, people know, but they think of it as a temporary phenomenon. So World Water Day comes on 22nd of March. Earth Day comes on 22nd of April. Then Environment Day on 5th of June. And I thank God for these days that actually cooperates, and that there are commemorative things around it that we can remind people. The sad part, by July, everyone's forgotten for the rest of the cycle. But I feel if we keep reminding, no, not everyone's going to change, but the message I think that subliminal messaging, and it seeps into the unconscious. Out of every 100 people, if 20 people start becoming more aware, that's a start. What I want to do, and what my passion and what I really feel, and when I talk to people, is like how COVID was spreading. You talk to someone who had COVID, chances are you
Yes.
got COVID. Whenever I talk to someone about saving water, or any of my passionate projects, whether it's spitting or it's reducing waste or any of these, I tell them that if what I have said, the next time you are in that similar situation, you're able to make sure that you do it somewhat different, or you even remember our conversation. To me, that's something that it is progress. And not the first time, not the second time, maybe the 20th time, the person may then realize that, okay, I can't leave the tap running while I'm washing my hands, let me close the tap. And so I'll give you an example. In the first maybe couple of years of my marriage, I happened to once walk into the bathroom when the tap was on full flow and water was just gushing down. And I came and asked my husband, what are you doing? Long back, 28 years back. He's now as careful as I am, and all of the households, including the maids or anyone we interact with. And he said, no, I'm shaving, I want warm water, the water's too cold. So I said, why are you letting it go down the drain? He said, what will you do with it? I said, collect. What should I do? I said, collect it in a mug. There's a bucket here. Unlike the Western homes, thankfully India has the concept of mug and bucket.
And buckets, yes.
It's very difficult to save water if you don't have a mug and a bucket. So I said, you please collect it. So 2 mugs of water he would collect and put it into the bucket. To this day that happens. And 2 of my 3 mugs come from that water, which otherwise would have gone down the drain.
Wow.
So what I'm talking about is the fact that people don't register, they don't realize. But once they realize, and that's the change. If today I realize, and today I've talked to you, Nolan, next time you realize that it's not that we stop changing habits overnight. There's a theory, you catch yourself doing something wrong. You do it wrong initially, you don't realize. Then you move to the next stage of awareness. It is conscious competence, unconscious competence. So unconsciously you're finding that you're incompetent, you're doing it wrong. The next time you catch yourself doing it wrong, slowly you work at it, you're able to shift to, you're able to do it right, but only if you consciously focus it. Till you reach that fourth stage of doing it, it becomes second nature. So the more people start trying out these things. So when I talked of, I wash my hands, I can't let that water go down the drain. I collect it. And that brings me to Ecowaternomics, if you would like me to.
I would really like to know that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I realized one is the 3 mug bath, that I'm able to use less water. I'm able to inspire a lot of other people to use less water. The flip side of it is I can't sing. My singing voice is gone. Because in 3 months, how long can you sing in the bath on a lighter way? But a lot of people have become conscious about how much water they use. Many people have told me that, hey, I can't do 3 mugs, but I've cut down to half a bucket. I have people who've told me I used to use a shower for 10 minutes earlier, I've cut down to 3 minutes. So as long as it sets
changes are taking place.
As long as the germ of an idea gets into the brain, whether it takes 1 week, 1 year, but repeat messaging to that extent pushes the habit change and makes it more likely. So while on one side, whether it's traffic or the other, you feel what's the point, people are not still doing it. It's a curve. So from the behavior change angle, since I work so deeply with interventions, everyone is at different levels of that behavior change intervention. For some people, it's that first step of awareness. They will take longer, but it is and that is why we must never give up. in our efforts to save our planet, to save water, to make people start carrying their own bags so they don't have to take the vendor's plastic bag, or very different angles of, segregating your waste, composting. I can take you to my kitchen and show you so many different things that I'm doing that actually reduce the resources that I consume. So, we can all save water indirectly also if we chuck out less food waste, for example. Think about it, how much water is used to grow that food somewhere else, transport it. So, in indirect ways, when we all move into, in our childhood, growing up in a big family, I understood it was about making ends meet. It was about saving money because we came from a modest family. But actually speaking, when you do that, you're not just saving your money, you're saving the planet. You're saving the planet's resources. And I think that's the powerful part. So I'll give you one example, completely removed from the subject of saving water. If you're thirsty, you'll drink watermelon, eat watermelon.
Yeah, if I have watermelon, I'm going to eat, yes.
It will quench your thirst,
Yes.
right? You may not have water. So, yes, I will
It helps,
to
yes.
water. And watermelon is, I think, some 97% water.
True, and it's very
So,
tasty.
Nolan, which part of the watermelon do you eat?
The red part,
Red part. What happens to the rest?
we normally throw it.
Don't look so embarrassed. I used to throw it too.
No, I think everyone throws it. I see
Everyone
that on
throws
the road
it.
as well.
Everyone
People throw
throws it. I used to throw it till May 2020 when COVID came. Waste was not getting picked up. We were eating a lot of watermelon. It was summer. And my composter was getting full so faster because it's bulky.
True.
Plus, it has a lot of water, so that leads to too much moisture in the composter for those who do composting. So I was grumbling about, hey, watermelon is filling my composter too fast. Somebody said, but why do you throw your watermelon white part? Just soak a cup of ordinary rice, raw rice, overnight. In the morning, grind it with the white part in your mixie. You can make instant dosas. Believe it or not, if they don't taste of watermelon, they taste lovely. And ever since that day, I have stopped throwing white part of watermelon out. Now, it may not be directly connected to water, but it indirectly, I send less waste out.
Yes.
Anyone who does this, less watermelon is needed to be grown, so in terms of water, and the waste that is transported uses energy, which uses water. So if you look at it, there are so many different levels to saving water. If we all live with using limited resources. So now that kicked off a campaign which I call Treasures from Trash through Beautiful Bharat. We now have 16 lovely recipes like that of food scraps people normally throw. So indirectly we are also saving water.
I'm still thinking of that. You said that the white part of the peel.
Yes,
Between-
the rind, it's called the rind.
Yeah, that's between the green and
Between
the
the green
and the red.
And the red. So not only do I make dosa, I experimented. I'm happy to tell you I make jam, I make pickle, you can add it to sambar. There is a whole lot of, and anyone knows other recipes from this or any other thing that people throw as food scraps, we'd love to hear from you.
Do you have anything that we can try after this recording?
We could, today if I had planned, I could have kept it.
Okay.
But I have watermelon jam in my fridge which I made last week. I can take
From
that.
the white part?
Yes.
Oh,
I can
lovely.
show
Would
that
like
to
to
you.
try
I
that.
can show that to you. And what I also wanted to say is, so on one side it is indirect,
Okay.
but what I'm saying is all of
How
these.
it works.
Yeah,
Yes.
all of these.
Now, since you mentioned about Ecowaternomics,
Yes.
I want to know, how did you come out with that?
Yes. Okay, so when I talk about Ecowaternomics, the first question I ask people is, would you bathe with mineral water on a daily basis, day in and day out?
Absolutely not possible. It's too costly. And
It's
no,
too
it makes
costly. It's too costly. To me,
yeah, okay. It
to
makes no
me-
sense also.
yes. So why it makes no sense? You're wasting a resource of a higher quality
Correct.
when it's not needed.
Yeah.
Why would you wash, right? But all of us do something as wasteful in our homes every day. I'll give you an example. After your food, let's say you want to rinse your plate. What's the spontaneous thing to do. Or
Normally we go to the
open the tap. Right?
and rinse. Yes.
Dirty pochas, after the mopping is done, we take water from a tap and rinse it.
Yes.
Now, by the same logic, why do we need fresh water out of a tap to do something which is rinsing a dirty item? When I started thinking about this is when I started evolving this concept of, I gave it the name Ecowaternomics, which I define as the economics of using only as much water as is needed for that particular operation, not as much as is abundantly available. What we talked about the first part, while water is there, it's flowing in our taps, it doesn't hit us that we need to save. It doesn't hit us that our city's resources are limited. Being in Karnataka, even more, we have the border issues with the the Kaveri water and all of that. It could be in a city which has abundant water. Nevertheless, I think the environment, the climate change, all of that is leading to hotter temperatures, so our water tables are going lower. Coming back to, if water is not as abundant, what can we do differently? Like in my childhood Chennai days, I learned to do with that 1 mug of water. Today I've learned to have a bath with 3 mugs of water. So Nolan, it will shock you that I washed my hair today with 4 mugs of water. This is the size of my mug. It's not a...
That's it?
That 4 mugs of this. Yeah.
So you've been having a bath with just...
Actually, after I shifted to this house, this is a slightly bigger mug than what I was used to. So it's got a little bigger. Otherwise, I use this maybe 1.2 liters. Earlier, I used to use a 1 liter mug. So it's become slightly larger. But even for my hair, I don't. Okay, then there's a different thing. Is your hair oily? Are you using conditioner? Let me not go into that level. But for a basic bath to be perfectly clean, so that's where I started. I would also like to introduce you to somebody called Eat Raja. People think I'm crazy on such things. Eat Raja is thankfully as crazy as me. Every day he stands in a tub, he collects his soapy water. He uses that soapy water to wash his motorbike. I don't have a motorbike, but I have trained my car cleaner. So incidentally, while walking on the street, I saw an Ola driver with a white car. What can be a worse nightmare, right?
True.
A white car on a dusty roads. He had this 500 ml spray can and he was cleaning his car. So I stopped, I chatted with him. This is how I can connect you with him if you'd like to know. This is what he does every day, few times a day. So his car is always perfectly clean with just 500 ml of water. Wow. So we have someone in our Beautiful Bharat team, a lady called Soumya, who told me that her husband washes his car with similarly 5 ml. So we've come out with a short reel on this, which we then translated to Hindi as well. So we are trying to inspire more people. Hey, and my line here is, why use more if less will do? So coming back to Ecowaternomics, if you go back to why should you bathe with mineral water, I look at it that there are 2 things that need purest water. That is our drinking needs, which needs really purified water, and then our personal hygiene, bathing. You wouldn't want to wash with dirty water, right? So those are the 2 things. Beyond that, reused water works. Now, when you start thinking of what are the secondary sources in the house, we need water for so many. What are the kinds of things you need water for in the home? Household needs.
You need for mopping, then you'd require clean water to clean your vegetables, fruits.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So kitchen, one is
Yeah.
cooking and cleaning kitchen, vegetables and all. Okay. Now again, there
Your clothes. Washing your car or your bike.
Car. Yeah.
I think that's about it.
What about things like washing bathrooms?
Correct.
Shoes, things like that. What about somebody like me who has 350 plus plants? I need water to water my
No, hold on. You have 350 plus plants.
I have 350 plus plants.
Over here, where we are sitting and speaking.
Over here, every balcony of mine is like a little mini green patch with shelves and
350.
Yes, some of them are tiny, but I keep on adding, and there's nothing like there's no place for more plants in my house.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't waste water. So let me tell you, till recently, I had reverse osmosis (RO), a system which I was pushed into because In the house that we moved into, the owner had one already, and then when it didn't work, it stopped working. There we were in Bellandur. We had to depend on tanker water. You never knew what kind of impurities were in the water. Therefore, it was essential for us to have the RO water. When we moved back here and we're getting Kaveri water, I have a TDS meter. We check our TDS. So you didn't need RO water. Now, for every 1 liter of purified water that I collect, RO water throws out. Do you know how much?
Around 3 liters,
3
2.5 to 3
liters.
liters.
Two and a half.
Yes.
No, more than that actually.
Okay.
Okay. If you were to do, if from the sky we had drones snooping in on every home, out of 1,000 homes, my guess is maybe only 5 would be collecting that water to reuse. And now with all the noise, maybe that 5 might have gone up to 50, but is that good enough? 3 liters of water every day going down the drain. So
I'm actually thinking about this because my home is as well in Mysuru. Yeah, that's actually left into the basin.
Yes.
Because you do not know when. So every now and then when you're actually drinking water, or if you take water right directly from it just automatically starts and water just flows.
Correct. So it's a default in most
Correct,
homes,
yes.
which you don't realize. I think after today, you'll probably curse me for this conversation because you'll feel guilty while that happens.
No, there's a lot of water being
Don't
wasted.
feel guilty, just take one bartan and keep it. So when you have to rinse the dirty plate, actually that water is too good to rinse the dirty plate. I'll tell you why. To rinse the dirty plate, there are 5, I give 5 categories. One is the pure water, which is for cooking. Next is the clear water for things like washing vegetables. We don't need that purified water which we drink for washing vegetables. The next would be clear water, which could be reused. I mean, it could be cloudy water. I washed my vegetables. So there are 2 ways of washing vegetables. One is under a running tap. That water is down the drain, right? Like your RO water. But if you put the vegetables in a bowl and you rinse them in the bowl and then you collect, I will show you every day when the vegetables are washed, that water is collected in a bucket and that water then goes to water my plants. Okay, so my 350.
Hold on, the vegetable water, the waste vegetable water.
Vegetable water.
That's okay.
Yeah,
Doable, yes.
it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Yes.
The second part of it is when the RO water. 2 buckets in a day, 25 liters is what usually a home would get for their household for drinking, cooking, right? In most homes, as you said, it goes down the drain because there's no consciousness that, hey, this is water, this is commons, we need to save it. So when we did our renovation, the our contractor actually told me, no madam, I'll conceal it, I'll put it at the back, you won't even know the water is going out. And I said, you know who you're talking to, you know what work I do, you give me a promise that you will not offer this to somebody else, but instead find a way. So actually, Nolan, there are contraptions that you can get where the pipe goes into that, it's fitted on your counter, and then you have a tap below it so you can use it for washing hands, whatever.
You know, while we are discussing this, another thought came to my head. Now, when you're cleaning bathrooms, you ask me what all you require water for. You need to clean your bathroom.
Yes.
But you know how strong detergents are?
Yes.
So, of course, you would require a lot of water. I see the maid at home, the helper. She requires a lot of water because you need to remove the soap.
Yes.
How do you manage that?
Yes. So, I'll have to remind me to come back to the RO part and the watering of plants. But strong detergents are not needed. We use strong detergents to give us a false sense of it's clean. But you can use milder detergents. So today, many of us have shifted to the organic detergents. So on my windowsill there, you will see a whole lot of bottles with orange color liquid. So here's how sustainability is at work. Every fruit peel that I eat, whether it's orange, pineapple, muskmelon, all of those peels, passion fruit, any fruit, pineapple, it's all collected and I convert it into organic cleaners. In 3 weeks, I have perfectly smelling organic cleaners. That along with, the wood powder, wood ash powder, which people sell, is perfectly good for cleaning, let's say, vessels. which is water that has no chemicals. It's good for the groundwater the grey water systems that it goes into. So if you're using strong detergents, you need more water. One thing which we encourage people to do is shift to organic cleaners, which have less chemicals.
No, I understand this. I understand that maybe decades ago, if you were using this, would make sense. But with today's new germs and pollutants, we need something which is strong, right?
So the what organic cleaner I've called is bioenzyme. I'm going to give you a sniff. You wash your hands in it, and you'll tell me it feels fresh and perky, and you don't even feel that it's dirty. I know there's a group, I'll connect you with them, who have done a study to confirm in terms of the fact of it having an antiseptic value as well. So you know how I disinfect my fruits from all the pesticides? I soak it in bioenzyme water for 15 minutes. And that bioenzyme actually neutralizes the chemicals because it's an organic enzyme. So anyway, I've got little sidetracked from the Ecowaternomics and the RO water. So this RO water which is wasted, which most people let down the drain, we are encouraging people to collect it. So in my home till 2 months back, I have now exited from RO very happily to something because I don't need RO. The water that you collect, those 2 mugs, if you put in bioenzyme as a cleaner, we don't use phenyl which is chemical. And because I don't use phenyl, I use this organic bioenzyme. It smells good. It is perfectly good to reuse for my plants. So 2 buckets of RO wastewater. In another house, they would go down the drain. Here they have been used for mopping. So the notional savings is 2 plus 2 plus 2, 6 buckets of water, which is 150 liters. So in a day, just by careful reuse of water. So my Ecowaternomics framework has 2 steps to it. First step is use less. Second step is reuse more. The first step, use less, has just got 4 simple points. When you open the tap, please, for heaven's sake, don't open it on full blast. The lowest flow. Second, tap off when not in use. While you're brushing, shaving, whatever, tap needs to be off. Open it again. You do get, and that's where aerators also help. Aerators hugely help for people who don't worry. For somebody like me, I don't need an aerator because my innate thing is to open the tap on the lowest flow. Third is no running water, whether it is a hose pipe for watering plants or washing your car or washing fruits. Use a bowl, use a mug, use a bucket. And the fourth is leak. So one night, a long time back, I was falling asleep, went to the bathroom, I noticed the tap was dripping. I sleepily pushed the bucket under it. I was horrified. In the morning, the bucket was full. You never realize how much a leaking tap. So anytime you see a leaking tap, not only in your home, in a public place, try to find out, try to tell the person if it needs repair. So use less has these 4 simple points. Tap off when not in use, low flow, no running water, and no leaks. Reuse more, collect water every time. So you will have clear and the pure water for kitchen, as I mentioned. But the cloudy water, so I'll tell you another fantastic source of water. The soapy water from washing our clothes or our hands. So soapy water from your washing machine outlet pipe, if you collect it, it works perfectly for washing your dirty mops, white egg fresh. So you will, when you start thinking about it, when I do this with school children, they come out with so many more ideas. One of the most common things of water wastage, half a tumbler of water in a restaurant, it's poured out. I have been encouraging restaurants, you collect it, keep it for watering your plants or rinsing dirty dishes. School children come home from school with the bottle, half the water is there, made straight away pour it down the sink. Why?
Yes.
So I know of schools which encourage students to pour it in plants rather than pour it out. So in this way, there are 5 categories. So the purest clear water, the soapy water, cloudy water, and there's also the muddy water. So my pocha water would be muddy, but it's still good for my plants because I don't have any chemicals. So I have an Ecowaternomics framework this way. So no level of water is wasted. And in terms of that RO water going down the drain, what we really encourage people who not realize this, is just start collecting it. Use it to rinse your dishes, use it for wash your dishes. It's not good to use for washing your vegetables because it's got the heavy metals
Okay.
and the impurities, but it's good for. I have watered my plants with waste RO water for years and my plants thrive. A lot of people will like to say, no, RO water's got contaminants, don't use it, nothing happens. But I use my own compost from my wet waste, so I'm neutralizing it. So.
No, it's interesting from the Ecowaternomics, how you have explained. But I just want to know, from the individual level, what more can we do? Is it possible to sort of recycle water? I don't know. Can we do something like that?
I think
Is it possible?
it is possible because I'm a living example of my home is a living example.
So the examples that you gave is
Yes.
basically recycling.
It is in a home scenario and even in a corporate or an office scenario in their kitchen, the RO water, hotels, why should it go down the drain? They can collect it and reuse it. Though of course corporates and communities, larger communities would have the grey water recycling, STP. I'm talking of where there's no STP in individual homes. And rainwater harvesting is another huge thing which we in our homes can't do. But so that's you're asking what can individuals do. A lot of people think rainwater harvesting, STP, all that is for my apartment to do or the government has to do all these Kaveri deals. I don't have to do anything, no. Each one of us needs to use less, reuse more. And I think I've given you enough examples. I can give you visuals of how we can use less and reuse more. And I have a poem also which I can.
Please, yes, I'd like to hear that.
In this whole, I'll just come to the poem. In this whole thing of making people realize, hey, it's not only the government's problem. Of course, it is the government's problem. If too much concretization is happening, we have to speak up, as you rightly said, in our own homes, in our layouts, more open space for water percolation, all of that. But what can we do at an individual level is to first of all use less in the ways I've told you. Start thinking of reuse. So and then let that circle of influence reach others. So the first step, find out, are you a person who wastes water copiously?
I waste.
I used to too. But if you have asked yourself the hard question and then look at, okay, from being a waster, let me at least come to the normal average. Then you move up to the next level of saving. Okay, so I'll give you an example. I had a maid till I moved here 4 years. She was with me, the cook, who when she started with would do full blast. And then I explained to her, it became an ingrained habit with her. And incidentally, any new maid, if I was taking, after 2 days, if I found they weren't listening to me, I would say I can't live with a maid like this where every day, because it disturbs me endlessly. If I go to an airport or a hotel and I see somebody in the next thing where they are soaping and the water is going, luckily now you have the sensor,
Yes.
but if somebody's letting the water go, I just smile and reach over and close the tap.
And what's their reaction when you do that?
Because I smile, because my hair is grey, maybe I get away with it. But I say that, water is running out the source. And they actually say, yeah, sorry, I didn't realize. If I said, hey, why are you wasting water? Sure, it would end in an argument. So.
It's not so easy sometimes for us. I've noticed if we go and tell people on the road, many times people avoid telling other people because you'll get into a fight.
Yes.
So you're like, okay, fine, that person is doing it, let he or she do it.
Yes.
Because no one wants to get into a fight or an argument. No one wants to listen. No one has the patience to listen today.
Yeah. Nolan, so when I started this whole thing of, if I alone do it, it's not enough. I have to influence others, and in my role of being a change maker and nurturing change makers who in turn through Beautiful Bharat, our 350 members across cities can do this. When I started off, you think I knew the right way to do it? It would end in arguments 20 years back. The way I joke is every time there was an argument, one hair turned grey. So you see now I have learned the way of putting it so that the person doesn't get offended. There are some trigger words to avoid. As a behavior change professional, that was also a specialization. I specialized on the communication, assertiveness, what not to say, how do you balance, my rights, the other person's rights, how do I balance the other person's feelings and sensitivity, all of that. And somebody today recently commented, you've learned the art, you can tell anyone anything, almost like you'll tell someone to go to hell and they look forward to the trip. So yes, if you learned that why did you, when you tell someone, then you're putting them on the spot. But when you smile with a suggestion, Do you think you can do this? I think maybe it will help to say when you put it that way. So it's an art. But coming back to from a water waster to a water to the average to a water saver, to me that's important. And I'll read my poem. But
Yes.
one last thing is in terms of when you say what can we do. Talk of water wasters, here we as a community, our apartment, we all try. So incidentally, during that peak water shortage time, my washing machine, soapy water, I would leave 2 buckets out every day, and our building mopping was happening with that. The maids would come and so why take fresh water when we can? I have excess soapy water. Another thing is many people will put quarter load and load their washing machine. That also wastes water. Do it when you're full.
So when you were doing this, what was the reaction of the others? Did they also get influenced?
Yes. People saying very good, we should do it.
They said very good, we should do it, but did they do it?
I think in the other block there was somebody else who also helped out, and when we tided over that part of it, I think they went back to taking the water from down.
Okay.
I was talking about people who, once we become conscious water consumers, it bothers us when we see people wasting. So I don't know if you've seen hose pipes used to wash the street.
Yeah.
And
the
there's
gate,
a particular
the street, your
home in our
compound.
layout where a river of water flows. That person gets tankers. That person can afford the tankers. So believes it doesn't matter. I'm wasting water, I can afford it. And that's, I think, where we need a sea change to see water as a common resource that we are all responsible to look after. It's not a personal resource that I bought it, my money, my tanker. And I think that's what...
Okay.
One last thing, Nolan, when we talked of Bangalore and you asked me what made me change, in 2009 it was that immediate presentation, PowerPoint. In 2015 when I moved to Bangalore, overlooking my room, there was a cluster, slum cluster, there was a well. People would come to fill water from the well. It was always the women folk. And it broke my heart to see even a little girl carrying a small bucket. There was a mother carrying a baby in one hand, a bucket in the other, and it will break your heart if I tell you the baby had a small pail of water too. I have a picture of it. In fact, I made a reel on World Water Day of all these images of people carrying water. And somewhere I said we value water more if we have to carry it if we were to carry it ourselves. If you carry a heavy load of water, it suddenly changes the I think that's a very good note to end on that.
It's very interesting you mentioned that, because I suppose that's the only way, I believe personally, that's the only way people will realize the value of water, when you are forced to,
Carry it
like in
as-
the villages and rural areas. I've covered so many stories as a TV reporter. I've actually gone there. I've seen people walking a few kilometers. They go pump water, especially the women folk. It's not safe. It's hot for them, like North Karnataka,
Yes.
and they're walking.
Yes.
I think only then we understand how important water is, because we would go there, we would shoot, and then get back to the hotel. Water's there to drink, water's there to have bath, water's everywhere. So it never pinched us.
Yes.
It pinched them.
I came to know recently, just today in fact, of a concept of water wives, that in villages there are men who have more than one wife to enable water carrying to their home. It's actually quite tragic and shocking, but apparently that's a reality.
And finally, Odette, you assured and you promised that you would read a poem that you had written about water.
I did. I read the poem. I'm happy to read it.
Yeah, please.
It's a longer poem, so I'm reading an abridged version, but anyone can catch it on my Instagram at Odette Katrak or at Beautiful Bharat, which is our Instagram page. So it's called Water, No Life Without You. There's no life without you. We all know it too. But while you're still here, we don't really care. Taps on full blast, the stock drains so fast, but we can afford and tanker guys hoard. We pay higher, we know, careless use, that is so. Taps run while we brush, at slow pace, what's the rush? Good water down the drain, we don't really feel the pain. We have more than we need, call it Richmond's greed. While in the slum next door, a child of just 4 lugs a bucket twice her weight. For school she'll be late. Now bowbells are dry, there's real need to cry. Our past wasteful actions result in water rations. If only we could rewind, 2 solutions we'll find. Use just the little you need, just basic, no greed. Taps on lowest flow, taps running strict no. Reuse and make haste, especially RO water waste. So there's enough for us all, rich, poor, big, small. Make a promise right now to save water somehow. There's no life without you, we all know it too. But we make a promise right now, we'll all save water somehow.
This has everything with Ecowaternomics.
It has everything.
Everything.
It has
I mean, since what all you explained to us, how it works, this poem talks about Ecowaternomics.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Odette. The first thing that I will do is when I head home to Mysuru is basically tell mom, let's not waste the RO water, and let's see if I can try different things, because I'm guilty of wasting a lot of water. I hope I can stop doing that. But thank you so much for your time and speaking to us.
My privilege, and I'll add one PS. Why wait to go to Mysore? Tell mom on the phone. So from today itself, she collects it and start using it because it's urgent. And I think that I'm very happy you're doing this series. And I hope that urgency that we all need to do a little bit, because literally, like the adage says, every drop counts. So thank you so much. And I welcome connections from anyone hearing this, either through Instagram at Odette Katrak or at Beautiful Bharat. And saving water right through the month of March, we focus on that, something every day. And we'd love input as well as giving out tidbits that people can work with. Thank you so much.